scariest stories are whispered, not told.
People always ask me what the hardest part of being a live-in caretaker is. They expect me to say something about long hours or dealing with difficult patients or feeling isolated, but the truth is, it's the quiet that gets to you. The kind of quiet where you can hear the clock ticking 3 rooms away, where you can hear your own heart beating louder than it should. That's the kind of quiet I found at the Leland house. It was late October when I took the job. Mrs. Margaret Leland was 84, frail but still able to shuffle around with her walker during the day. Her family, her daughter and 2 grown grandsons, all lived hours away, and after her most recent fall, they decided she shouldn't live alone anymore. She didn't need a nurse, just someone to help with meals, keep her company, and watch over her in case she fell again. The money was good, too good if I'm honest. I should have known something was strange right away. Her daughter met me at the house, a big, old colonial-style thing on the outskirts of town, white paint peeling, shutters hanging crooked. The grass had grown up around the porch steps. She's a little forgetful at night, her daughter told me as she handed me the keys. She didn't make eye contact when she said it, and then she was gone. Mrs. Leland herself was polite enough. She sat in her armchair by the window most of the day, knitting. She hardly spoke except to ask for water or tea. She ate little. Her eyes were cloudy with cataracts, but sharp enough to follow me whenever I left the room. Her bedroom was at the end of the hall upstairs. Mine was directly across from hers. That first day passed uneventfully. I made her a light dinner, helped her into her nightgown, and saw her safely into bed. She didn't speak. She didn't even say good night. I went to my room and read for a while before turning in. The house creaked and groaned as it cooled. The quiet settled over me like a heavy blanket. Sometime after midnight, I woke up. I couldn't say what woke me at first, just a feeling. I sat up in bed and listened. That was when I heard it. A voice, low, muffled, coming from across the hall. I padded over to her door and pressed my ear against it. She was talking to someone, or maybe to herself. Her voice was too soft to make out the words, but it was definitely her. I knocked lightly. The voice stopped. When I opened the door, she was sitting up in bed, staring straight ahead. The rocking chair in the corner was moving, slowly, as if someone had just stood up from it. But no one was there. She didn't even look at me. "Mrs. Leland," I whispered. She smiled faintly and lay back down, turning her face to the wall. The chair stopped moving. I stood there for a long time before finally backing out of the room and closing the door. I didn't sleep much after that. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. She sat in her chair, knitting, staring out the window at nothing. I brought her breakfast. She thanked me, quiet as always. But I couldn't stop thinking about the way she'd been talking, the way the chair had been rocking. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things. Houses that old made noise at night. Maybe she had gotten up and sat in the chair for a moment. Maybe a draft moved it. But that didn't explain the voice. That night, I went to bed early, exhausted. But just after midnight, I woke again, the same muffled voice. I slipped out of bed and cracked my door. Her light was on. She was sitting up in bed again, murmuring. The rocking chair was moving back and forth in the corner. This time, I didn't knock. I just stood there in the doorway, watching. She didn't notice me at first. Her eyes were fixed on the chair, and she was whispering, her voice dry and cracked. "Yes, of course. You'll come for me soon. I know." I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. The chair kept rocking. "Yes," she said again. "I'll be ready." Then she turned her head and looked straight at me. Her cloudy eyes seemed clearer. "You can't hear him yet," she said softly, "but you will." I backed out of the room and shut my door. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next day, I called her daughter. "I think she might need to see a doctor," I said carefully. There was silence on the other end of the line. "She's talking to herself," I added. Her daughter finally sighed. "She's always done that. Don't let it bother you." And she hung up. That night, I lay awake, waiting. Sure enough, just after midnight, the voice started. I stepped into the hallway and stood outside her door. But this time, there was another sound, a low creak, coming from the stairwell. I turned and looked. The rocking chair was at the top of the stairs now, rocking slowly. Empty. I froze, staring at it. The chair kept rocking back and forth. No one was sitting in it. I backed away slowly and slipped back into my room. But I couldn't bring myself to close the door all the way. I sat on the edge of my bed, listening. Mrs. Leland's voice went on for hours. At some point, I must have drifted off because I woke to silence. The next morning, she didn't come downstairs. I found her still in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her breathing was shallow. Her lips moved faintly, but no sound came out. The rocking chair stood next to her bed now, perfectly still. I called her daughter again. "She's not doing well," I said. Her daughter's voice was cold. "It's time then." She hung up without another word. That night, I sat in my room, waiting. I couldn't hear anything. The house was completely silent. At some point, I realized her light was off, but the chair was rocking. In the hallway outside my door, back and forth, empty. I don't remember falling asleep. When I woke, the chair was gone, and her room was empty. Her bed was neatly made as if no one had slept in it. Her knitting lay on the windowsill, half finished, but the rocking chair was gone. I moved out that same day. Her daughter never called me. The house still stands at the edge of town. Sometimes on quiet nights, when the fog rolls in off the hills, I swear I can hear it. The faint creak of wood, rocking back and forth, and a dry, cracked voice whispering to someone only she could see. Being a night caretaker in a hospital isn't glamorous. It's quiet work and lonely most of the time. You sit by someone's bedside, keep an eye on their vitals, turn them if needed, clean up when necessary. Mostly, you wait. That's what they hired me to do, just wait. The job posting didn't say much, just that the family was looking for a dedicated overnight caretaker for a long-term comatose patient. Private room. No nursing duties beyond keeping him clean and comfortable. The pay was surprisingly high, but the conditions were strange. The patient, Nathaniel Greaves, was to be kept in the same room at all times. Lights dimmed at night, windows covered, and most importantly, do not speak to him under any circumstances, the family rep had said, staring at me with sharp eyes. "He won't wake up, will he?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "No, but don't speak to him, all the same." The room was on the third floor of a private facility, the kind of place reserved for families who could afford their loved ones to fade away in privacy. Nathaniel lay in a single bed at the center of the room, hooked up to a monitor and an IV drip. He couldn't have been more than 30. His face was pale, but handsome in a sharp way. His chest rose and fell steadily. If not for the silence, you'd think he was just sleeping. The first few nights were uneventful. I sat in the corner, reading a book or scrolling my phone while the monitors beeped quietly. I'd glance at him every so often, but he never moved, never twitched, never sighed. He just lay there, perfectly still, his face completely blank. On the fourth night, I noticed something strange. Around 3 in the morning, the heart monitor beeped faster. I looked up from my book. Nathaniel's eyelids fluttered, just for a second, and then his lips moved. I froze. No sound came out, but I could swear he was whispering something. The next morning, I told the day nurse what I'd seen. She glanced at me, then shook her head. "He does that sometimes," she said briskly. "Doesn't mean anything, just nerves firing." But the way she said it didn't sound convincing. That night, I stayed extra alert. I watched him as midnight passed. At exactly 3:03 a.m., his breathing hitched. His eyelids fluttered again, and his lips moved. This time, I leaned closer. It was faint, but I could hear it. "Don't let it in." I jerked back, my heart pounding. Was he dreaming? Was he awake? I stayed frozen for a long time, staring at him. His lips stilled, his breathing slowed. It was like nothing had happened, but the words rang in my head. "Don't let it in." The next night, I didn't even bother with my book. I sat there, staring at him, waiting. At 3:03 a.m. sharp, his eyelids fluttered. This time, his head turned slightly toward me. His lips moved faster, whispering a little louder. "Door. Don't open the door." I swallowed hard. "What door?" I whispered back before I could stop myself. His eyes snapped open. Just for a second, and they were black, deep, endless black. Then they closed again, and the monitors beeped steadily, as though nothing had happened. After that, I started noticing other things. At night, the room grew colder than the rest of the floor. The light above the bed flickered, even though maintenance said there was nothing wrong. And sometimes, just at the edge of hearing, I thought I heard scratching, coming from behind the walls. I tried asking the day nurse more questions, but she just shook her head. "You don't want to know," she said. And that was all she'd say. On the 7th night, everything changed. It was just after 3. I was sitting there, wide awake, when the room suddenly went dead quiet. The monitor flatlined for half a second, then beeped again. Nathaniel's head turned toward me. His lips moved faster now, urgent, like he was trying to yell but couldn't. "You have to stop it." I stood and leaned over him. "Stop what?" I whispered. His eyes snapped open again. This time I saw more than black. I saw shapes, writhing in the darkness. And then he said in a dry, rasping voice, "It's already here." The light above me popped and went out. The room was plunged into darkness, lit only by the faint glow of the monitor. And then I heard it, a slow creak, as though a door was opening. But there was no door in the room besides the one I'd come through, and that one was closed. The sound came from the far wall. The scratching got louder. Then a crack split the wall, and something black and shapeless began to push through. I stumbled back, my breath catching in my throat. It wasn't human. It wasn't even alive. Just shadows, crawling into the room, twisting into limbs and faces that didn't stay in place. Nathaniel's breathing grew ragged, his back arched. The thing reached for him. Its fingers, long and thin, brushed his chest. He screamed without sound. I don't know what made me do it, but I grabbed his hand and shouted, "Stop!" The thing paused. It turned toward me, and I felt something cold slip into my mind, like claws scraping at the inside of my skull. Then it spoke. In my head. "He's mine." I don't remember much after that, just a flash of black and the sound of tearing fabric, and then nothing. When I woke, it was morning. The lights were on, the wall was whole, and Nathaniel was gone. The bed was empty. The monitors were silent. No one would tell me anything. The family never returned my calls. The room was stripped and cleaned by the next night. I quit the job that day. But sometimes, late at night, I dream about it. The wall splitting open, the blackness reaching out, and the voice whispering to me, "He's mine, but you're next."